Dark and bizarre, bizarre and dark, dark and bizarre. You ain't leaving with all you brought, hopeless and helpless, chained to a wall. The blade's getting closer, the open grave calls. Why, oh why did I read those words? My damnation's infernal. I thought Joe couldn't steal my soul, but horror springs eternal.
35 episodes of this gosh darn show. 35. Oh, I need to fix my mic tonight. Gotta fix his mic.
35 episodes. Retro Trekkers has been so much fun to do. Let's get this episode started.
Retro Trekkers, get down with the retro Trekkers, Capt'n John and Commander Joe. Retro Trekkers, we love our Star Trek. Retro Trekkers, the nerd muscles get to flex. Retro Trekkers, get down with the retro Trekkers. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Oh, we gotta flex those nerd muscles, my friend, and I cannot do it alone. Never do. Let me bring in the first officer of SB-80. I believe you know, Commander Joe Townsell. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing fabulous, John. How are you? And I have to apologize. I promised you mere minutes ago that if you hadn't pushed your mic over, then I would have reminded you, and I didn't do it. So,
You know, if there wasn't a screw up at the beginning of the show, would it even be one of my shows?
I'm not going to answer that on grounds that may incriminate me.
Let's get in touch with our good friend CPO Eric Kramer down in the engine room of the old Starbase. How are you, Mr. Kramer?
Great. Question.
Yes.
Season finale.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Season
Yes, sir.
finale.
Season
The
finale. Yeah.
I haven't received my invitation to the cast party yet.
No.
Is that like only like a bridge thing, or is that what is that exactly?
We still haven't gotten all the RSVPs from the Orion Pirates, which, as you know, are the most fun people in our particular spot in the universe.
All
So
right.
I'm holding out.
Although I'm going to be a little bit irritated with Subspace Postal Service because
I've got an hour to receive my invitation, or things are going to start blowing up.
oh god, here we go again.
Joe's right. Joe's right. Our message system is not the best. The computer
Which is not
quit
Eric's
2 years
responsibility,
ago.
by the
All
way.
right. No, hey, well, yeah, whatever.
Because
Let's get on to
you should have at least received your invitation to.
I know.
to
I
observe
remember the last party. You told me it was specifically BYOB, and then I show up and there's an open bar for the officers.
Look, you're an enlisted man, Kramer. You got to get used to certain things.
All right. What,
You get to have shorter sleeves on your uniform. That's a great thing.
That's a plus.
Okay, sure. I'll take that for the win.
We got all our gang here. We got Ralph, and there's Chris, and Mr. Bill Folds back. So glad to see you back, my friend. And we're talking tonight about the Menagerie. I want to know, and let's start with you, Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
What does the Menagerie mean to you?
Wow. That's an open-ended question. I've way too many things. But can I say, let me just lead with this, because this is going to be a continuing theme with me throughout this episode. Quite possibly the most iconic female character in all of Star Trek.
Oh my.
Saying something.
That is saying something. And we're talking.
Let's. I have not been right as a human being since seeing her in this episode back when whatever age it was.
Right.
But I do mean that, because I used to remember at the end credits, it was specifically her picture.
Yes. So you're talking about Vina.
Yes.
The beautiful blonde woman repeated in this 3 times.
Like, if you asked me to remember one female character, like the first one that comes to mind out of that entire series, it's her. Easy.
Interesting. I have a similar story. Mine's very short, but I was like 7 or 8 at the time. I think it was like in 2nd grade, maybe 3rd grade when this happened. When it went into repeats and we were watching Star Trek every weeknight. I became a man. In this episode, I really found these women so attractive. Susan Oliver as Vina, chief among them, and all of her many guises as well.
Yes. And I think that's part of it. I think that's why she left such an impression with me, because there was a whole range of Vina, and she was not only a really good actress.
Yeah.
But stunning, completely unforgettable.
Yes.
That's my thing with this show was her. The one thing I will always remember from this episode is her.
Very, very valid. Like, so valid. And Mr. Townsend, you are never anything less than valid yourself. What are your thoughts about the Menagerie, aka the Cage?
Well, I wouldn't even say AKA the Cage, because one builds on the other. But to answer your question, when I was a kid, what the Menagerie meant to me was it was a special event. And what do I mean by that? For many years, the Menagerie was not part of the regular 5 days a week stripped rotation of Star Trek reruns. It was held back as a special movie of the week type deal. And they would show it occasionally, whenever they felt like it, I suppose. So when that came on TV, that was appointment television back in the day. I mean, I sat down and said, I'm going to watch this.
I don't remember it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Because it later on, of course, it became part of the rotation, but it was always. Now I'm going by memories based on KTLA Channel 5, which is what we got where I used to live down in Imperial Valley.
Right.
And they were the ones that showed it at the time. And yeah, that's what they did. They said, oh, special presentation, 6 o'clock to 8, the Menagerie. Okay, I'm there. And of course, we didn't have the Cage yet to watch separately.
Right. Like you didn't know the Cage. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think for us, where I was from, and I believe it was Channel 8. We lived in Maine, and it was Channel 8 out of Poland Springs. Maybe you've heard of Poland Springs.
Yes.
That's where the water comes from. Yeah, I think it was just part of the stripped, every night there was an episode.
Yeah.
And of course, I have an older brother who is 3 years older, and he's an engineer. And like, he's super smart. So he pretty much explained to me how all of this stuff, he was a much bigger Star Trek fan than me. It's always so funny that I don't think I can get him on this show.
We'll keep working.
I can get Eric Kramer on this show, but I can't get my brother.
God, anybody can get me. That's the saddest part about this.
The most fortunate part, Eric. Come on.
Mr. Billfold says, I think that as a kid watching it, it just felt weird watching the old footage interspersed with the current footage. That was strange. I absolutely.
That was strange because in some ways superior.
Oh, well, we need to talk about that because I think I can argue with that. Chris says my voice dropped after this episode. With Mr. Billfold says, I'm not going to lie, Nichelle was super fine to me as a young man. Oh man, she was, but even more so now for me. I don't think I've been more attracted to Nichelle Nichols than I am.
Oh my God, just a goddess for God's sake. I mean, holy cow, are you kidding?
There's that great moment where they arrest, I'm jumping ahead, but they arrest Mr. Spock and they take him and they keep the camera going. And she does this beautiful moment of walking to the door and then turning around, and just through like pure physical acting, it's just like, what the hell is going on here? Doesn't say a word, but she represents so much emotion. And I think that was something Nichelle Nichols always did so beautifully.
Yeah, she was wonderful. How pissed do you think James Doohan was?
Oh,
during the shooting of this, like, really? You don't think like the whole time he's in his dressing room going, "Why the hell am I here?" No lines.
They couldn't give me like two lines.
Buttons. You don't even get to push Pike out the door, for Christ's sakes. Like, you got to walk with it.
So Raphael asked the question, when was the standalone The Cage episode rolled out? Never, right? I mean,
I actually talked about that briefly before we came on. If I may, I'll answer that.
Oh, please do.
No, in the second season of TNG, there was a writer's strike, which resulted in an abbreviated season. And one of the ways they filled it out a little bit was by doing a special presentation, first time only, of The Cage in that syndication market.
Right.
So we're talking 88, 89 when this was first rolled out as far as its own standalone deal.
As a matter of fact, this brings us to our first segment of the show. Let's talk about the genesis of this show. I think the way I have it in my head is very compressed. And so stop me if I'm skipping some important stuff. But the way the show went was Gene Roddenberry had a great idea. He pitched it. It was being produced by Desilu, which is Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball's production company and studio, honestly. They are a fledgling studio, and Lucy is running quite a bit of it at this point. Desi would go on to really take on a lot of it later. But she was making a lot of decisions, and thank goodness she was. One of her decisions was to greenlight this show. So they hired Jeffrey Hunter, who was a great actor, as you see in, the Cage segments of Menagerie. And he was a great choice. However, this was one of those pilots that did not get picked up. CBS was lined up for it because they had to deal with Lucy. CBS and Lucy were very much a thing from her radio days. And they looked at this and they said, nope, don't like it. There's a million things we don't like. Nope, not going to do it. And Lucy was stuck. She would have to cancel the whole thing now because they didn't want the pilot. Or she could do the thing that almost nobody ever does, and that is reshoot the pilot. It's a lot of money. It really is more money than most studios ever want to spend. But she believed very much in this show. She believed in Gene Roddenberry. So they did shoot it again. However, Jeffrey Hunter wasn't available. All of those network notes were still there. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. They didn't want the show to be this. They didn't want a woman first officer. A million things in The Cage that they did not want and they did not like. So they had to remake a pilot, and they got a young actor named William Shatner. Have I missed anything, Mr. Townsend?
No, not so far. Please continue.
So when they get William Shatner, and they had been looking at a bunch of different guys, Lloyd Bridges always, I want to go to the universe where Lloyd Bridges was Captain Kirk. Wouldn't that have been amazing?
Almost as amazing as William Shatner doing Sea Hunt.
But the show that they had was still very expensive. It did get the go ahead from CBS, though, as we talk, because we've covered a lot of episodes from the original series, and Gene Roddenberry had to jump through flaming hoops constantly to keep the show on the air, to satisfy the network notes. It was not an easy show to make. They got to a point where they actually ran out of scripts. And at that point, somebody said, look, we have the pilot. Isn't the pilot good? And everybody who made it thought it was great. There were a lot of great elements in that pilot. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they came up with the wraparound idea. That was something that had been written for Gene. And here I'm going to run over to my notes. The official writer on this one was, I lost him. He's a dude who so sorry, John D.F. Black. Mm-hmm. John D.F. Black wrote the envelope script, as Gene was calling it, and he entitled it From the First Day to the Last. Roddenberry being Roddenberry, and it still is early days in the show, really wanted to get his thumbprints on it. So he rewrote almost everything and then gave himself sole writing credit.
Like you do.
As one does. John D.F. Black went to the Writers Guild. He filed a grievance over payment and screen credit, but his claims were denied.
Yes.
And so the bad karma of Gene Roddenberry builds up and builds up. However, they do manage to make this a two-parter. They do manage to keep the audience. The audience is totally into it. It's very Mr. Spock centered, so that's really cool. The audience loves that. And we get this very strange transplant of the original rejected pilot on air, somehow worked into a plot that works now with the now Star Trek show. And that is pretty much what I'd give you.
The only thing I would add to that, because you like to, during the Genesis section, talk about both the writers and directors.
Yeah.
Menagerie Part 1 consisting mostly of new material, directed by, I'm going to say, Robert Butler.
Yes.
But Part 2 being consisting mainly of the Cage material, directed by the other guy, which is Mark Daniels. Is that correct?
Mark Daniels.
Yes.
99% sure it's Mark. Yes.
Yeah.
Daniels. Yes.
Two different directors because of the amount of material used from one or the other.
Even though Daniels was still in episode 2, he still directed the envelope plot.
Right.
But yes, that was fair. Honestly, that was fair. Two really good directors, I would say. Eric, did you like the direction on?
I did. I liked that. I particularly liked the bridge shots. I particularly liked the sort of view from up top where you saw the whole bridge actually as a working unit instead of going in and always tight singles at somebody's station.
Yeah.
Like it really gave the feel of a ship. And I know why they did. Well, no, I can guess why they did that, because that's what they did in the Cage.
Right.
The Cage kept showing off that bridge as a big as a big unit, occasionally going in tight,
Yeah.
but otherwise you saw that it was like a big working ship. So it helped tie the two stories together a little bit. And it's what makes it even cooler is that what's so funny is that the cage is so reminiscent of Star Trek, the motion picture, in regards to just color. Just everything's just all washed out, and it's all feels very monotone and very.
Yeah.
Whereas the Enterprise is happening, and it's got red and colors, and all the switches light up.
Yes, it's that beautiful mid 1960s thing where it's like, look, colored televisions are the big thing now, so let's do wild colors.
I love those color washes on the wall. Like, it's just great. And you know what the color washes do that's also really smart is that it hides the fact that those sets are insanely barren.
Oh,
like all those rooms are basically table and chairs, and that's it. But when you put like color wash on the walls, it feels fuller. Feels like the room is suddenly important. And then when you go in for close-ups and two-shot stuff, you have all that color wash in the background, and it really feels like they're somewhere else.
I mean, sometimes one wall would be purple and the other half would be green.
Yeah.
Which is, like that. I wanted my room when I was a kid to look like that. I totally liked that.
I mean, we go from Pike having literally a fucking television set in his room.
Oh my God. His room is insane.
His room was great. His room, oh my God. Like I really expected like a fucking stand-up bar in his, like it looked like maybe instead of the sliding doors, like those bead walls, that people sort of come in and out of.
I'll tell you what, you are not going to hate Captain Pike on Strange New Worlds. You're not going to hate his quarters at all. He's got a Benihana setup.
No. I've seen it. The dude has a barbecue in his room. Also, his fucking stateroom's bigger than the bridge, for fuck's sakes. What? That's a sweet deal.
And so it should be, because honestly, when Jeffrey Hunter
dinners for 24 people in there, for fuck's sakes.
When Jeffrey Hunter jumps on his bed in the Menagerie and it's not big enough for him by a long shot. Like, damn, space travel is hard.
What is cool about that though is that, and it's the thing that I wish Enterprise had done. Yeah. Like, even though it on a far cheaper budget, do you know what I mean? It felt like that Enterprise felt like young, like it really felt like a ship. And I love the fact that the Doctor had a whole different uniform on. Like, it really felt, it felt military, which was really fun.
There are scenes from Mr. Roberts that look like that. I swear that they were like, they were taking that, it's like, well, this is what it looked like in the scene with Mr. Roberts talking to the Doctor in the movie. Let's do that in our show. Yeah, I swear that's what I saw. All right, let's jump ahead, shall we? Because it's time for Every week, we like to break down, recap, and review it for you. And it all starts with the beats. If you don't remember every important thing in this episode, 2 episodes, Joe Townsell is here to provide it. So, folks, here we go. Joe Townsel's beats.
Captain Christopher Pike is held captive twice. Years ago, by the oppressors on planet Talos 4. And now, within his own shattered body. But perhaps with Spock's help, he can find happiness again. Find out as Retro Trekkers present The Menagerie from Star Trek, the original series. Spock has received an urgent message from Fleet Captain Christopher Pike. He wants his former fellow Enterprise officer and friend to report to him at Starbase 11. Once there, Kirk is informed that no one at the Starbase sent such a message.
Can I just stop this quick?
Commodore
hang on,
Jose
hang on.
Mendez informs Kirk reluctantly.
Where
Yes,
did
Mr.
you
Craig.
find a picture of John Leering? Because this is awesome.
I have to say, Miss Piper. Woo!
Well, Eric, thank you so much, and and I will send you this slide for your wallpaper.
I don't know where you found this picture, but it's perfect.
Well, hello there. So, wasn't it amazing how many attractive women there are on Starbase 11?
And
It's
they
pretty
all
amazing.
know Kirk.
All
Kirk
right,
knows them all.
Here we go. Back.
That Captain Pike could not have sent any message, or much of anything else, in his current condition. Pike has saved several lives during a devastating accident, but has himself suffered disabling injuries. In fact, Pike can function only within an all-enclosing motorized wheelchair. But it's more than that. The big box is a complete body replacement. In addition, Pike is unable to speak, and can communicate only with the use of a light, which flashes once for yes, and twice for no. Spock knows about his former captain's tragedy. That cunning little Vulcan has a plan. Hijack the Enterprise and transport Pike to a place where he might be happy and live a full life once again. But Spock is keeping it a secret from everyone else, even Kirk, because their destination is a planet forbidden, under penalty of death, a world known as Talos 4. Pike protests Spock's plan. His light flashes twice for no, over and over again. Pike has no desire to see his friend face execution. Mendez and Kirk debate the validity of Pike's message to Spock. The message can't be real. That means Spock must be lying. But that's impossible, isn't it? The lovely Miss Piper, assistant to Mendez, thinks that Spock's deception is the only logical explanation. Meanwhile, Spock puts his plan into motion. He falsifies more records to trick the Enterprise crew into believing that Kirk has put Spock in command. In this fictional directive, Kirk will stay behind on Starbase 11 while Spock leads the crew on a top-secret mission. Spock returns to the Enterprise, bringing Pike with him. Planetside, Miss Piper reports that Pike has disappeared. As the Enterprise leaves orbit without him, Kirk has to admit to himself that Spock may have just pulled a fast one after all. Mendez gives Kirk the top-secret command-level only file on Talos 4. Details about the planet are sketchy and kept tightly under wraps. But one thing's for sure. General Order 7. Talos 4 is such a dangerous place, attempting to go there might lead to execution, the only such death penalty still on the books. Spock is pacing the bridge, very nervous, especially for a Vulcan. He snaps at the bridge crew for whispering amongst themselves about their peculiar orders. Where's the navigator? Well, we don't need one. The ship is on autopilot and knows our heading. Most strange, Spock orders Uhura to maintain radio silence. This despite desperate hails coming from behind them. And of course, McCoy isn't buying any of this. Spock takes the Doctor to his quarters, where they find Captain Pike. Spock plays another bogus message from Kirk, ordering McCoy to follow Spock's orders to the letter. Spock asks McCoy to look after the disabled fleet captain. McCoy is alarmed, but agrees to do all he can. He wishes only that he could do more. The source of the frantic messages is revealed. It's a Starbase shuttlecraft. The senders of the frantic messages and the shuttle passengers are Kirk and Mendez. The Commodore reminds Kirk that the range of the shuttle is limited. They will need to break off pursuit and return to Starbase soon. So now, Spock has no choice. The jig is up. He orders the Enterprise to come to a full stop, and the shuttle passengers are beamed aboard. With McCoy present, Spock calls for a security team to report to the bridge. He reveals to the shocked bridge crew that he never received orders to take command of the Enterprise. Spock then tells McCoy to place him under arrest. Befuddled, McCoy gestures to security to take Spock away. Kirk and Mendez are brought up to speed regarding Spock's deceptions. But that's only the beginning. Spock has locked the Enterprise computer on a direct course to Talos 4, and it is unalterable and unavoidable. It seems everyone is going to the Forbidden Planet. There's little more they can do but have some good old-fashioned courtroom drama. The pain of having to try his best friend for treason weighs very heavily on Kirk, especially given Mendez's eagerness to hang him high. Spock waives his right to a preliminary hearing and requests immediate court-martial. Kirk is very reluctant to send Spock to the gallows so quickly, but he's found a loophole. Kirk denies Spock's request on the grounds that a court-martial can be held only if there are 3 command-level officers available, and there are only 2. But Spock corrects him. There are 3 such officers, the third being Captain Pike himself. Mendez, it seems, didn't have the heart to retire the fleet captain after his accident. Thus begins the court-martial of Mr. Spock, and he wastes no time in entering a plea of guilty. Spock confirms that he knows he will be sentenced to death if the Enterprise enters the Talos Star Group. Mendez demands answers. Spock tells him the answers are forthcoming, and then surprisingly requests the view screen to be activated. Thus begins the recycling of footage from the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage. On the view screen, we see the Enterprise flying through space. Spock explains we're seeing events from 13 years prior, when Pike was the captain. The footage shows an unlikely depiction as we enter the bridge from the dome at the top of the saucer. Mr. Spock, Starfleet records don't have this much detail. Where are these transmissions coming from? All in good time, Captain. And you ain't seen nothing yet. Further recycled footage is presented. Captain Pike responds to the distress call from Talos 4. And there's Spock smiling as he caresses some blue-leaf plants. Oh, and there's those old scientists. And the lovely Vina. Also, there's those weird, big, veiny-headed Talosians kidnapping the captain. Etc. Kirk asks Pike if that's him on the screen. 1 beep for yes. Well, Mendez is already losing patience, but is forced to concede that Spock is allowed to present the backstory in the form of recycled TV pilot footage. Spock tells Mendez that, after watching the tapes, if he wants to return to Starbase 11, he will release control of the Enterprise. Well, Mendez scoffs, saying he doesn't make deals with criminals. Mendez wants to discontinue the playback of what happened 13 years ago on Talos, but the Commodore is voted down by Kirk and Pike. Back to the pilot footage. Pike is now a prisoner in a Talosian cage deep beneath the planet's surface. The crew tries to blast the rock face with a big laser gun, but it's no go. The playback is interrupted when Uhura calls from the bridge. Starfleet has confirmed that the transmissions are coming from Talos 4 itself.
Uh-oh.
Well, that cinches it. General Order 7 has been violated. Mendez is ordered to relieve Kirk and take command of the Enterprise. They are to return to Starbase 11 immediately, where Spock will face the music. But Spock will not release control of the ship. Time for a recess. McCoy and Scotty take Pike out of the room. Spock looks overwhelmed. Kirk asks Spock if he's lost his Vulcan mind. Spock pleads with Kirk not to stop him or let Mendez do the same. They must see the rest of the transmission. Kirk is dumbfounded. He orders the security guard to take Spock to the brig. The words, "To be concluded next week," appear on the screen. Kirk paces, deep in thought. He leaves the room, uncertain what next week's episode will bring. Wow, has it been a week already? Well, after a lengthy recap of Part 1, Spock's court-martial continues. Spock has pleaded guilty to all charges, yet he still refuses to release control of the Enterprise. He pleads with Mendez and Kirk to continue viewing the transmission from Talos 4. Well, that brings us up to speed. With no other options, the command-level officers turn their attention back to the view screen as the Talosians resume transmission of that long-ago, bogus rescue mission. So from this point forward, this episode is comprised largely of recycled footage from the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage. The recap transmitted from Talos resumes. Pike is thrust into the first of many illusions inflicted upon him by his new Talosian captors. He is suddenly back at the palace on Rigel 7, where he had a very bad experience in real life just recently. But this time, Vina is there. She's decked out in princess garb, and a brutish barbarian warrior is pursuing her. Now, Pike has it figured out, but it's still difficult to not fight back and defend a damsel in distress when a big galoot is attacking, illusion or not. Back at the court-martial, poor Pike in the box is plumb tuckered out. Spock assumes that the Talosians have paused the playback because Pike is pooped. Despite their egregious acts 13 years prior, Kirk concludes that the aliens with the big butt heads with throbbing veins really do care about the disabled Captain Pike, much like they cared for Vina many years prior to that. Well, Mendez ain't having it and grows more impatient. He demands answers, and is annoyed when Spock reminds him that all will be revealed during the Talosian recap. The narrative picks up again after the Talosians leave Pike and Vina alone in their cage. There is no need to watch them in person. They can be punished telepathically from anywhere, and they'll both get a taste of that a little later. Let's try another fantasy scenario, shall we? Pike and Vina are whisked away to New Mexico, Pike's stomping grounds on Earth. His favorite horse is there. He and Vina are enjoying a delicious picnic lunch and eating something called chicken tuna. Well, this is the same getaway of which he spoke to Dr. Boyce earlier. Vina reminds Pike that if he likes it here, they can stay. Alas, Pike isn't ready to surrender to fantasy. Not yet. Spock confirms to Mendez and Kirk that Pike and Vina were imprisoned to serve as breeding stock. Unlike the classic Twilight Zone episode, the reason for their abduction is for much more than being simple zoo specimens. The next illusion is designed to further entice Pike. Hey, if he's not into wholesome Earth girls, maybe he'll dig an Orion slave dancer instead. So now Pike is now hanging out in a house of ill repute with two other dudes. Vina is now the hot green Orion girl. She does a little dance for the gents, hoping they'll make it rain. Kirk asks Pike if the green girl is Vina. Pike signals, yes indeedy. Getting a little aroused himself, Mendez describes Orion women as animal-like, and no man can resist them.
Incel.
You know, this is the first of numerous occasions during which we are treated to the seductions of Green Orion women in the Star Trek franchise.
Hello.
Back in reality, Vina reveals that Talosians can't read minds through primitive anger. They punish her telepathically for speaking out of turn. Wrong thinking will be punished. Correct thinking will be just as quickly rewarded. Well, Pike puts Vina's claim to the test. He throws himself against the transparency, imprisoning him in his cage. The Talosian keeper is caught off guard and jumps back. Aha! Now Pike knows how to outsmart them. But that satisfaction is short-lived. Pike remains defiant. As punishment, the Talosian plunges Pike into an illusion where he's burning in the very fires of hell itself. Man, that's smarts. Back on the Enterprise, another landing party is preparing to beam down for yet another rescue attempt. But only the women are transported. Younger Spock shouts, "The women!" Everyone in the transporter room hopes Spock will calm down in later years, maybe under the command of another captain. Maybe. So now, Number 1 and Ensign Colt are in the cage with Pike and Vina. Vina is frustrated as she was beginning to get through to her new boyfriend. "Let me finish!" No matter. Now Pike has a small harem from which to choose. Later, the keeper brings them their grub, which is delivered through a doggy door at the back of the cell. Well, clever Pike is playing possum. He pulls the Talosian into the cage and starts wringing his scrawny little neck. The Talosian changes into a big hairy monster, but Pike is done with these illusions. Vina pleads with Pike to have mercy on the Talosian. They are, after all, played by old ladies pretending to be fragile males. Pike fires his phaser at the transparent wall. Nothing. Actually, he suspects that he pretty much blew a big hole in it. "How about if I test my phaser on your gross misshapen head?" Well, voila! The illusion is dropped. The hole is revealed. The quartet walk out. Back in the present, the Enterprise enters orbit of Talos 4. Well, this is great timing since Spock has just been found guilty by all of the command-level officers. Mendez, Kirk, and even Pike. Spock reports that the Talosians now control the ship, and they're about to give the final piece of the puzzle. Back in the past, on the planet's surface, the Talosians concede defeat. Humans' hatred of captivity makes them useless slaves. They're free to go. But first, there is one final illusion to be revealed. The beautiful Vina suddenly becomes deformed. It seems that she was the only survivor when her ship crashed, and the Talosians didn't have any fashion magazines to use as a guide when putting her back together again. So, Vina is doomed to remain on Talos 4 for the rest of her days, under their care. They promise Pike to restore her illusion of beauty. What was originally the epilogue of the original series pilot plays as Pike steps back onto the Enterprise bridge. At this point, the transmission from Talos ends. Back at Spock's court-martial, Kirk addresses Mendez. But then, the Commodore vanishes. The Talosian keeper appears on the view screen and speaks to Kirk directly, telepathically. The Talosian reveals that Commodore Mendez was yet another illusion. He was never actually on the shuttlecraft or the Enterprise. The Talosians wanted to distract Kirk with a bogus court-martial, just long enough to get to Talos. The Talosian keeper invites Pike to spend his remaining years with them and Vina, both of whom will be free of the confines of their damaged bodies. Uhura calls from the bridge. Commodore Mendez, the real deal this time, has been in contact. Back on Starbase 11, they also received the Talosian transmission. Starfleet Command has excused the unauthorized trip to Talos 4 just this once. Well, Kirk breathes a huge sigh of relief. Spock is off the hook. Kirk turns to Pike, still confined to his mechanized chair. "Do you want to go there, Chris? To Talos 4? To be with Vina?" Pike beeps once for yes. Spock thanks Kirk on behalf of them both. Kirk further lightens the mood by teasing Spock about his recent emotional tendencies. Spock insists he remains ever logical. Then the Vulcan excuses himself to his loyal current captain, as he escorts his former captain to the transporter room. The Telosian Keeper contacts Kirk one more time to display the last recycled footage from the cage. Pike is now back on the planet's surface. His healthy body, as well as Venus, has been restored. The happy couple head back down to the surface to the Menagerie, hopefully to enjoy a mutually pleasing illusion of a quiet picnic at a picturesque spot. The Telosian Keeper has a final wish of goodwill for Kirk. Captain Pike has an illusion, and you have reality. May you find your way as pleasant. Kirk smiles with misty eyes as he heads to the bridge for the crew's next adventure.
Recap. Review. Recap.
Let's break it down. Let's do the down and dirty. How do you feel? What did you like? What did you not like? Mr. Kramer, did you have something you wanted to open with?
Oh my God, I got a ton of stuff to say. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't go first. I'm kind of, I look at it and like my first reactions are, I'm kind of sorry that we didn't get that Captain Kirk for the rest of the series. Like as great as William Shatner was, there was something about this dude in the pilot that was just like, he's everything that I kind of wish Pike in Stranger Worlds would be.
Right.
You know?
Right.
A little more road weary, you know, but still, you know, brave and into it. I just love that the whole medical wing, like I miss the whole military feel of it. Like I think that really could have played. Like I like that sick bay seemed like its own, you know, like triage thing and not just like it seemed like its own entity. I'm really sad we didn't get a female number one.
Honestly, I really liked Majel Barrett.
Oh my God, she was great. So great that it took me forever to realize that was her.
No, really?
Yeah. It took me like a couple. Granted, when I was younger, I didn't pick up on it. When I was older, it was like, like maybe second time through, I was like, oh shit. Yeah.
I was a big Nurse Chapel fan too. So the fact that she came back, as a fan, I loved that.
Yeah. No. And she was great as Nurse Chapel, but she would have been a great number one. She was great in that, not just the right blend of everything and really sort of understood what that position meant. Like really solid work.
I mean, the only misstep in that whole concept was, well, sorry, number one, you can't go down to the planet because you're a woman. I mean, she's second in command, but she can't go down on a landing party. Okay.
Didn't he say though that she should stay because she's the most experienced officer?
Yeah, that's kind of what I got. I didn't get maybe now I get it now that you mentioned it. But I thought it was, but I did. I got when he went down and she didn't. It was like, hey, listen, you know, I trust you. I trust you to be in charge of my cat. You know what I mean? Like you're in charge. Like you're in charge of the ship.
I mean, I remember being a kid and watching. I would watch 12 O'Clock High. Sometimes I would watch. Oh my God, there was the Rat Patrol, and of course McHale's Navy. And so World War II was always there. You know, the classic military was always there. And I remember as a kid having to remind myself, because of episodes like this one, that there's a military code and they are a military organization. And you know, they would make it seem like, hey, we're just on a jaunt through space. We're just trekking. But you know, they were military. They did have guns. They did do military stuff. So you know, one of the things I really appreciated about the Next Generation was how they made that work. How they said this part is military, this part is families, this part is science, you know, this part is civilians. It all made sense. But yeah, they were really straddling a lot of lines here. And, you know, Gene's experience was, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Townsend, he was Navy, wasn't he? Wasn't he Navy Air Force?
That's correct. And police.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I'd forgotten.
Hence the lieutenant, one of his short-lived efforts.
Right. So, you know, Gene had a certain area of expertise that he was coming from. But that was very cool. That's a funny line from you, Albert. Well, Majel Barrett did get to be number one, just not on the show. Apparently, there were network executives that hated her. They hated Majel Barrett. And then when she showed, I know. And when she showed up later as Nurse Chapel, they were all like, well, okay, all right.
So they probably hated the concept of number one.
They hated her as they hated that character.
I don't know. There seemed to be a lot of cattiness because Gene and Majel Barrett at that point were not married.
Right.
They weren't an official couple. So I think they were seeing the girlfriend of the executive producer. Ooh. I think that's how they were noting it.
And one thing that supports that argument, John and Eric, another rumor, obviously after many decades, but it's rumored that one of the reasons Jeffrey Hunter did not return was because the executive producers had similar feelings toward Mrs. Jeffrey Hunter, that she was an intrusive Hollywood wife, and they said, we don't want to fool with that.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's 1966.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Men is very much a reality for these guys. And I think there's a lot of piggery that goes into how the network was working and all that, which again makes it so amazing that Lucille Ball was the studio head that said, no, we're going to spend more money and we're going to make this show. This show is going on the air. And I still, to this day, just love her so much for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Other observations people have, and anybody got some down and dirty?
Well, I'd like to talk for a minute or two about the basis of the cage. He was in a cave. As we mentioned earlier, I can't remember if it was before or after the show started, but the cage, as we know, was the original pilot. It was recycled out of mothballs for this two-parter. It was shown in its entirety for the first time during TNG's run. And when it was shown then, parts were in black and white, largely because those parts were excised from the Menagerie. And that's what I'm getting to now is like, why they left certain things in and took certain things out of that original pilot baffle me.
Interesting.
To me, anything that violates the established continuity by the time the Menagerie rolled around, Spock getting all giddy over the leaves. Oh, yeah. Right. Why did that remain? But at the same time, there's a great final scene in the cage where, there's a great final scene in the cage where Pike sees himself as an illusion being given to Vina after he escapes, which was such an act of kindness by the Telosians. That was not shown in the Menagerie.
I always wondered where that final shot came from.
That's where it came
from.
That's what the final shot. Okay,
that's beautiful.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Unfortunately, they excised it from the Menagerie, so you're left to in continuity. The Telosians allowed the poor woman to be alone for like 13 years, until Pike came back.
There is that scene in the Menagerie where it's basically the happily ever after, where they show them being reunited, but that was from the original show as an illusion for Vina.
I always wondered where they got that shot from.
That
And
was
I
a,
always
that was a
wondered if
more
it was
tightly
just if it
cropped
was a
shot.
double.
It was a tightly cropped shot. In the original and altered shot, you see Pike observing that scene.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
And that's actually the basis for the closing keeper's line at the end of Kirk.
right.
He was slammed to Pike at the end of the cage.
Well, we are running out of time. Let's get to MVP. Who was your most valuable player? I'm going to make you go first, Mr. Townsend. Who was your favorite actor or character in this whole process? Could even be somebody behind the scenes. Who do you like?
Well, I tend to stick with actors and or characters, and because this was a two-part episode from two different sources of material and footage, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say that my MVP for the cage is Pike, whereas my MVP for the Menagerie is Spock.
Ooh, very clever.
Oh,
I like that, and I think it works. I think it really works in both ways. I'm just going to be pure and simple on this one. I love Dr. McCoy, especially in the first part where he has to arrest Spock because Spock told him
so
to.
great. So
Okay.
great moment.
I mean, he is tortured by that. He's trying so hard to understand what's going on, and he is the senior officer, after Spock. So yeah, he's like, arrest him.
That's what you do. Well, of course, he's the least military of the whole group. So.
Yes. There's a lot of great DeForest Kelley and a lot of great Dr. McCoy in this. So that's my pick. Who do you pick this week, Eric?
Oh God, it's hard to single anybody out. That pilot, you forget how good that pilot is.
Yeah.
You forget how incredibly well written it is.
Yeah.
How incredibly well thought out it is.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are obvious flaws and plot holes, whatever. It's going to be like that anywhere.
Yeah.
But really well written. The relationships in the pilot already feel like they've been like together for 8-9 episodes.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I love that scene in his cabin.
Yeah.
You sounded like a guy who's tired. You bet I'm tired. I hear lines like that and I go, oh God, why didn't we get that captain?
Yeah.
Nothing against Bill Shatner. But that you look at that guy and that's the guy you want. That's the guy you want leading you. Great choice. I would have loved to have seen where that doctor character goes, but nobody could have beat DeForest Kelley. That recasting was a huge upgrade. I think that gave a life to that charter that you just don't see anywhere.
I love the actor who played that original doctor.
I'm telling you, Alzheimer's is horrible. Who played the
doctor? John Hoyt played the
woman.
Oh,
Vina.
Susan Oliver.
Susan Oliver. Phenomenal.
So much work.
Like the reason that pilot works is her.
I agree. I hadn't thought about that. But
the whole reason that pilot works is you are cheering for those two to get together.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
still cheering for them.
She got to play, and it dawned on me the last time I finally realized the last pass through. It's not her when they first meet the imaginary survivors.
Right.
It's the guys. Because I always thought, she's kind of weirdly evil and leading. And I'm like, because it's not her. It's not her until he's actually in the cage. And then she does that. But you see her from, oh my God, from scared to the whole bit with the picnic to, just all the tenderness in the cage. And dude, that Orion shot when he's in the cave and I remember that vividly as a kid when he turns around and she's there with the torch. Yeah. And what's great about it is that she's not playing it up.
Right. Right.
Like it's just her. It's just that presence. And you go, what? Wow.
It is potentially her being this idealized female. And in many ways she is.
And her playing out her, do you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
tap into what's going to get this guy over. Well, let's tap into something where he's, they set it up perfectly in when he's talking to the doctor about maybe I'll go be this.
Yeah.
So it's already back there somewhere. So
Yeah.
they give him the opportunity to live that, but they're also giving her the opportunity to live that. Can I just throw a little bit of water on here?
Yeah.
Of course. The Thelosians. Why can't I say it?
Telosians, right?
Yes, no H. Telosians.
Telosians, right? Humanoid.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
How do they fuck up her rebuild? Like not even fucking close. You don't think like halfway through the rebuild she's going, guys, two arms, two legs,
Symmetry.
eyes, mouth, ears. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? They're giving her fucking humps on the back, and why isn't this part going together?
Big bag of bones. I mean, we don't look like that, but sure. A stranger woman could look like that. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, let's get those delicious pieces of trivia that Joe Townsell serves up for us. It's time for Townsell's Tidbits. And oh, my friends, we got some tidbits in this. I have a bunch of questions to ask you, actually, Joe, but
Cool.
why don't you lead us off?
Well, I mean, there's so many, but I'm going to try to be selective in the interest of time. But one thing I do want to point out, since we all admired her at the very beginning of the beats, the lovely Miss Piper at Starbase 11. Don't know if it was ever confirmed, or denied, but I find it very coincidental that Kirk's original doctor in Where No Man Has Gone Before, Dr.
Right.
Mark Piper, was this a relative? I don't think it was an accident as far as the naming. So conjecture all you will there. And talk about an upgrade from a doctor, Eric. I mean, Mark Piper in Where No Man.
Well, it's interesting that he was the doctor in space, considering he was the alien from Venus in the Twilight Zone episode at the cafe.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That's right. I mean, he is just made for space, that actor,
right? God, what a great face. Great, really solid actor, too. Like that doctor bit was great. Although I went, he's like, ice and a martini. Jesus, what are you doing?
I wondered about that. As I was watching that, I was like, but you shake it with ice, but you don't serve it with ice.
God, you don't put fucking ice cubes in a martini.
Well, you also don't serve a drink to a buddy like this. Take a stance, Don't forget that John Hoyt's
really
ultimate acting
as an actor, as character actor, appreciating solid.
Oh yeah,
actor.
Oh yeah.
And let's not forget that John Hoyt reaches acting apex in as Grandpa and Give Me a Break. So got to recognize that.
Oh, I forgot about
that. Wow.
Hey, Gene Roddenberry. He originally wanted to do something else with the Cage pilot, the footage. He wanted to make it a feature film.
That's right. I just read that today.
Yeah. And I guess he had some good thoughts. I mean, at this point, obviously Jeffrey Hunter was not available, but he was going to, shoot like new footage, which would have shown the crash, but that would have been kind of weird because it was kind of fictionalized, by the Telosians. So I think what ended up happening is probably for the best. I mean, we did have Batman 66, the movie in the middle of the series. That worked okay, but I think this was the right way to go as far as recycling footage. Not exactly a tidbit, but I wanted to bring this up real quick. People have been critical of reusing this footage, and it doesn't quite match and everything else. Well, that's all true, but I compare it to something TNG did very badly and then again very well. And that is the way that the footage was used and the fact that they wrote a compelling wraparound story
Right.
to really set it off and to expand on it. In TNG, we had the second season ender called Shades of Grey, which was a clip show. Ugh. Because they ran out of money.
Terrible.
And they didn't have writers because of the strike.
Right.
2 years later, same problem. No money. What did they do instead? They wrote and produced The Drumhead, a superior episode. So it shows you can do stuff, given the motivation, given the talent. So thank God that the Menagerie wasn't a clip show beyond what it was.
Right.
Hey, Spock,
Right.
remember that time you did this?
I always think of that as being a Gary Marshall thing. Like it happened in Happy Days. It happened in Laverne and Shirley. It happened in Mork and Mindy. Like if Gary Marshall, I don't know if he ever did it in Odd Couple, but I'll bet he did.
I'm sure it happened once.
Yeah, absolutely he did. Absolutely he did. Love that series, by the way.
We should probably do that series.
There you go. I mean, Family Ties, not Family Ties, SNL did a Family Ties takeoff where they did flashback within flashback within flashback. Then they had to back out of all of them.
One of the funniest things about Kevin Smith's cartoon version of Clerks was that they do the flashback episode in the first episode. Because they're such slackers. They don't do anything. And so they're like literally remembering things that happened 5 minutes ago.
John, I have to expand on a point you made about Malachi Throne, of course, who plays Commodore Mendez.
Yes.
Also the voice of the Telosian Keeper.
Right.
And Pardak in Unification Parts 1 and 2 and TNG with Leonard Nimoy.
Malachi Throne. Now, granted, I don't know if that's the guy I would hire to play a Hispanic man, but still one of the greatest names, that is Raphael said earlier, and one of the greatest voices. Fantastic voice.
Well, it could have been a name by marriage too, somehow.
He took his wife's name. Mrs. Throne, I would like to take your name.
Sean Kelly played the disabled Pike, obviously. Again, Jeff Henry not being available, and pretty convincing illusion. Totally different guy made up. I didn't have the heart to make up John like that in the beats. So, but
I never once believed it was him, but
I was so respectful of the level of makeup there. Apparently,
what?
That was a 3-hour makeup job.
Yeah, the makeup was amazing. Makeup was great. Look, nothing stands up to HD now if you make it in 1966.
Well,
That's
sure.
right.
But that makeup and those sets in the cage, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely thinking outside the box. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to throw in something I noticed when I was watching the show. If you watch it again, especially during the memory of him being on Rigel
7.
Rigel 7. When he was on Rigel 7 fighting the giant, a lot of those stunts were Jeffrey Hunter.
Very talented.
I'm looking at that guy and I'm going, hot damn, that's not a double. Yes, Jeffrey Hunter doing that fight choreography. Very dangerous because he's the little guy in the fight too.
Now, am I remembering correctly that had Star Trek continued with Jeffrey Hunter, he would not have survived the series? Didn't he pass away before Star Trek was off the air?
I believe the reason they've always given, and I just assume they're right, that Jeffrey Hunter did not play Christopher Pike was because he was passed away by now. I believe he died in a car accident.
Yeah, it was tragic and sudden. It wasn't natural causes or anything like it, but yeah. So he would have only played Captain Pike a short time, as it turned out.
Yeah, which would have been interesting because I wonder if they would have elevated Mr. Spock
In another universe, as they say.
Was this the piece of, okay, so I'm thinking of Susan Oliver as the Orion dancer.
Yes.
Was this the piece of footage that they would send out to get developed, and somebody would color correct her back to being flesh tone and not green?
Great tidbit, John. Yes, that's true.
Oh my God. Wow.
Can you believe it? I think it happened more than once, and it was super expensive for this guy to change the color. Like, why is this woman green? And he didn't see like the streaks of makeup. Like, what an idiot.
The exceptional writer, in my opinion, writer and artist of the comics of She-Hulk, did a takeoff of that scenario with that character.
All right.
Where someone caught her nude sunbathing on the roof, but it didn't matter because they made her flesh tone. So
they color corrected it, so it could have been anybody. That's right. That's right. Any other tidbits you want to throw on the table, Mr. Townsend?
Oh, like I said, we could go another hour. I think we've covered the highlights both in the Down and Dirty and here. And did you have any other questions, John? You said a few. Was that it though?
No, that was mostly it was, I love that story. I wanted to know if you had heard that story too about the color correction, and if it was this or if it was a later green girl.
No, I mean, I'll just conclude my remarks by saying that, again, opinions vary, but this wasn't just a cash grab. I mean, it obviously was necessitated by budget and script availability, but they did a great job, in my opinion, in reworking the Cage. A few glitches here and there that they didn't quite mesh together, but overall, I mean, it's a classic episode. I give it all its credit.
I always judge the original Star Trek by how they respond to where the fans are. That the fans loved Spock and they loved learning more about him, and that relationship with the fans created a lot of great characters in the decades to come, a big one being Data. We want to know more. We want to see his struggle with humanity. We want to see more from this character, and this did a lot for that. This moved Spock on the game board many spaces ahead by having this previous relationship and then showing us Spock 1.0, which is hilarious.
Right.
And I wonder, is this I could be wrong, so anyone can correct me, but I wonder if this, at least chronologically, if this is the first use of the Vulcan neck pinch.
No.
Oh,
no. The first one is the other one we reviewed, when Kirk splits. That's the first time, and I only know.
You're absolutely right. I stand corrected.
I've been told that story so many times.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. I knew that we had covered
nerd muscles. That's like watching one too many Leonard Nimoy interviews.
Christopher Bach. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Wasn't Batgirl also a green girl? I was thinking about that episode. Exactly.
Yeah, Whom Gods Destroy, season 3, the only other use of an Orion lady in this series.
Look at us trying not to say slave girl.
Hey, a side tidbit, if I may, I've never been able to find it anywhere, YouTube or otherwise, but the character of Data was based on a TV pilot Roddenberry made, which didn't get picked up, which was regrettable. The Questor tapes, and that was the Questor character in Android. He's trying to learn about humanity and the last of a long line of such. So, if that's available anywhere, I'd love to know about it.
That's really cool. I remember it being a TV movie, the Questor tapes.
It was a 2-hour pilot.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so friends, coming up next Tuesday, you're not going to see Retro Trekkers. This was our season finale. Coming up next Tuesday, we're going to start our show Match Callers, and I'm going to have a good friend of mine, Ruben Iglesias, from the Grapple Labs Wrestling Company. They've got a show coming up, and Mean Joe, Gene Townsend, and I are going to watch a match with Ruben, and it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a Bret Hart match. If you know wrestling at all, I know I'm dressed as Bill Goldberg here, but that's only for a joke. It's not a Goldberg Bret Hart match. It's actually a Bret Hart versus Andre the Giant match.
Ooh.
From Milan, Italy. So it probably won't get a copyright hit. we're very hopeful and looking forward to that. Coming up, really like right around the corner in 2 nights, I will have my show Webo Mystery, and we will listen to Gunsmoke. We will not only listen to the episode, The New Hotel, but then as an added bonus, we will also listen to the rehearsal. They used to record their rehearsals, and they would get quite dirty. So this is a dirty rehearsal by the same people, just filthy. I've heard it. It's hilarious and filthy. And I appreciate every actor and every creator who made it happen. So join us on July 3rd, won't you? And listen along on Webo Mystery with Mr. Weber. That would be me. Coming up on Sunday. Sunday, we're gonna watch the movie Charade, which is public domain. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Eric, do you know the story of this as far as copyright? They bungled it, and it's public domain. Always has been.
That's hilarious. That's great.
Because they have incomplete copyright information on the film, so that was it.
So we'll be able to watch this really terrific movie. I've seen it once or twice, many years ago. It's been a while. And of course, I just love to watch this picture of me and Joe canoodling. That's adorable. A week from this coming Thursday,
here we go.
We're going to start our new series, Strange Old Trekkers. It's just the recap and review show for Strange New Worlds Season 3. We are going to start with the final episode of Season 2, because it is a 2-parter.
Yes.
And then the week after that, we're going to do the Paramount thing where they like to have a 2-hour Star Trek event, but that's down the road. Don't worry about that. Just remember, if you want to catch Star Trek with us, and please do, we'd love to have you with us. It's Thursday nights from now on, as all of our shows are, 7 p.m. on the Pacific Coast and 10 p.m. on the Beast Coast.
And next week also, we'll tell you what we know, or we think we know, about what's coming up on Season 3 of Strange New Worlds after the second part of, I can't even say that word, hegemony?
Hegemony?
Isn't that where you trim your hedges? I don't know, some kind of agricultural thing. But anyway, we have some news we've heard of. We'll share it with you and get your comments on that too next week, along with the Season 2 finale review.
And we want you to visit our good friend Eric Kramer. He is over on YouTube, and he and I make these wonderful videos together.
We basically drink and then occasionally cook.
That's right. So head on over to Eric Allen Kramer, home of the Kramer Grill and Bar, the KGB, on the YouTube, to visit your good buddy Eric and John, his well-fed sidekick. You do know that TOS fans are Trekkies, right? I say Trekker.
I think they're both great. Embrace the diversity of Trekkies and Trekkers.
And build it a little bit.
While
Let's mix it around. Let's mix it around.
While I'm yelling at Chris Bach, I should also tell you that he's got a line of books over there on lulu.com. You should check him out. Spotlight/Christopher Bach. Get his books. He's a very funny man, even though he's being very argumentative right now. I think that's it. Guys, we should get out of here. Hour and 18. That's insane.
Well, not bad for a very complex 3-part.
Thanks, everybody. What a great season 1 of Retro Trekker.
Yes, thank you all.
The series really picked up when they got Kramer.
Absolutely.
That's, hey. Still haven't got my fucking invitation to the goddamn cast party. By the way, I've been checking my email the whole goddamn show.
Eric, look for your invitation to Scoreboard
When
Girl.
we come back. That's all I gotta say. I'm even at the bottom of the screen, for God's sake. No respect.